Good news, everybody. Today is St. Patrick's Day 2022. That would make it Thursday, March 17th. The markets were good. The markets were good the last couple of days. China did another lockdown, and today saw a really big rebound in Chinese stocks. After listening to Ray Dalio's book about principles for navigating the changing world order, looking at China as a potential investment avenue for at least an ETF has been already profitable. So let's see. Today the Fed raised interest rates as well, so that was welcome by a lot of people, especially the markets. I think I touched on it just briefly in last video, but you know, you cannot keep interest rates at negative or zero forever, because that just leads to the devaluation of the backing by the U.S. government, which is going to lead to a devaluation of the money and the U.S. dollar. And you know, we really can't, and we might be able to weather it. I mean, we don't want to not be the reserve currency, but we might have that happen where we won't be the reserve currency anymore, and it might be the yuan, it might be some kind of crypto. I think though, in the big dynamic scale of things, you know, we're kind of on a like a down so this is another one of those upticks as we fall, as we go whoosh 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 whoosh. So we're on a like nice little uptick, but we might go down even further here, just as the U.S. economy is. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of months, and as far as 2022 as a whole. I think 2023 will be another good year. It's really just about holding and maybe reallocating a certain percentage of your assets. So hopefully, with the Fed planning to raise interest rates 7 times this year, will really help. I don't think that there will be 7 rate hikes. There's probably likely only to be 4. But it would be really nice to see the housing market get slowed down a little bit. I mean, we've talked about it in these videos before about millennials, I guess, you know, younger folks. We don't have a lot of options. You know, it's tough when you know, when people are leaving certain states, California, in droves, and they can pay almost double for a house in cash, and they have the even if they don't even have the credit, I mean, they've got the cash for it. And like, that's the one thing that is really, you know, kind of messing a lot of things up. So hopefully this will make people think twice if there's a higher interest rate. But it'll still be, you know, that's along you know, a short-term type of decision where you know, we just want to move and get out. But if the interest rates are a little higher, then there's a little bit more of a thought process that's going to go into purchasing a home. And so, you know, it may not be as attractive to somebody who can just throw cash at it, but somebody who is wanting to get out of the situation of renting an apartment and move into a permanent residence to actually build the equity, you know, would be willing to do. So anyway, hopefully with the rates rising, the market's going back up. I mean, it was obviously welcome. Normally it's the other way around, but I think it just means that we can look forward to a recovering U.S. economy and global economy Unfortunately, the war with Russia and Ukraine is still, I guess, you know, churning on. Very, very interesting times of, you know, not being focused on COVID and things like that. I mean, I said months and months ago, calling out, like, where did Fauci disappear to? Where is he at? Where is he at? And now they got this war with Ukraine going on, and there's some interesting things going on that people are pointing out, so I hope everyone's paying attention. But let's encourage these rising interest rates. Don't let the news scare you about them, and don't let it seem scary. This is going to be a good way to combat inflation. It might slow the economy a little bit, but that's kind of the idea, is to get that supply and demand line back in equilibrium. You know, kind of shake things up a little bit, try to get it back, you know, poke it back into place. Just because there's a lot of stuff that's gotten way out of hand as far as price is concerned, and I'm not talking about gas prices. I mean, things like lumber and all kinds of different things are just way, way out of control. But anyway, it's kind of like just a brief update for today. I don't really have much to talk about other than that, other than the markets were looking pretty good. The Fed raised rates, and I'm on board with that. And hopefully this little uptick isn't short-lived. It might be time to sell some things and take profits, which is to be expected. And let's just hope that more people buy in, and we get back to doing what we do best, which is making things and buying things. And I do think that the U.S. government, as well as us as consumers, are going to have to tighten the belt here eventually, especially if prices stay, or if anything about the prices are about what they're talking about, you know, then we'll have to tighten the belt here and there. But the thing is there's a lot of overconsumption in America, and that's one of the things that, you know, could be a good outcome of this. A lot of people are like, well, I mean, yeah, so the U.S. may not be on top anymore. We may not be the big #1 country, but that's, I think, kind of selfish, because we are apt and prone to over consuming. I mean, we have the highest rate of obesity in the entire world. That doesn't need to be the case. And we have a population that's growing lazier and lazier by the Netflix binge watch, by the TV show. You know, I mean, every show, every hour wasted is wasted productivity. So we're seeing a lot of changes happening, and you know, this way of life that so many of our fallen veterans fought for in World War II, that was kind of a third order effect of the economic boom that happened in the 1950s. It sort of spun out of control because of credit and things like that, and we're about to see a big hard crash. And I think that there's a lot of Americans and things like that, and folks who aren't used to lean times, and they're not ready for it, and they need to get ready for it. And so, you know, fine, bring on the smaller portions, bring it on. I mean, if my dollar's not going to buy the same, I mean, if I can't buy the same size 32-ounce Coke that's now, you know, that was $4 at the movie theater, and now that same $4 only gets me a 26-ounce Coke, I mean, all the better, I say, for the long-term health of the nation. But all you're going to do is hear people complain that their hot dog prices have gone up because they're fat and selfish, and they don't understand. And it's just, I'm getting tired of seeing the consumerism destroy America. And I'm getting tired of Americans not realizing that that's what is causing our country to be, to fall. The empire is falling because of them, and they're the ones to point fingers. They can't own up to the fact that they're 80 pounds overweight, and I don't know. It's just, it's one thing to be, it's just like, if you're young and you're that way, and you're entitled, and you're in college, and you're 80 pounds overweight, and you expect the world to be handed to you on a silver platter, which seems to be the mindset of a lot of individuals in America over the last, I don't know, decade and a half or so, it's gonna create a lot of problems when everyone's a special snowflake. I think it's really funny that the conservatives are the ones to make fun of that, and the liberals are the ones who want more communism / socialism. But when it really comes down to it, you know, each side wants the same thing. If the Republicans or the right really wants to see more productivity, then they're gonna need to you know, they're going to really have to let go of the fact of their individuality and kind of get over this whole, like, everyone's a special snowflake, and, like, get in line. And they're going to have to be a little bit more communist or socialist. And the left, you know, who wants all of this communism and all of this stuff, and they do think that they're special snowflakes because they're all individuals and creative and unique. They're gonna have to get over that and get in a little bit more lockstep with each other if they want their little socialist utopia where there's free healthcare for all, because they're gonna have to start putting the needs of their community and their state and their government over themselves, and they can't. There's cognitive dissonance on both sides. And that's what's kind of, I guess, really scary about it, is both sides have been slowly led to slaughter, as lambs and sheep most often are. That they've been so polarized on each end that they don't realize that pretty soon they're going to meet on the other side. And it's already starting to happen. They just don't know it yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the next presidential election be perhaps finally a third party will actually get something, or there will be a win by any means necessary attitude. I mean, everything, if voting mattered, they wouldn't let us do it. I mean, everything's been rigged for a while now. It's just a matter of which party pulls the most strings and pays the most money, and you know, helps line the corporate pockets. Who's going to make the most promises to do the most things when they get into office? And then, are they bought and paid for? You know, all the politicians, they're bought and paid for. They're just pawns. They're just products of the corporations. And I really wouldn't be surprised if the election in 2024 is what kicks off not maybe a civil war, but a light revolution, like a soft revolution, because the infighting is going to get so bad that I think there's going to be people on both sides that realize that they're on the same side, and that's going to be one of two things. They're going to realize that they both want the same thing, and that's a little bit more lockstep communism, socialism type of deal. And then there's going to be, hopefully, the folks like us who are, you know, awake. We're not woke, which is, you know, I talked about that in another video. It's been co-opted by big corporations to sell more, because they're smart. You know, they hire the psychologists, they hire the people coming out of the marketing classes and the psychology classes who know what to do and how to get under your skin and get in your brain and get in your ear holes and get you those little earworms, and, you know, not necessarily subliminal messages, but they know how to market and advertise and manipulate you. And I think that if we don't start accepting the fact that, you know, we are being herded against each other to fight each other, and that there's a much better way to do things, if we don't start uniting against those that are in control and in power, then we're really gonna just be destined to being the 99%. And we have to be careful that if there is some sort of soft revolution that happens in 2024 or in the next 6 to 8 years period, that we don't do like one of those other ones. I think they're called the kulaks, or essentially, I mean, hell, the Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge was similar in a way. You know, we cannot attack the haves because we're told that they're the haves. We have to be very careful, because there are haves. There are people with means, like doctors and lawyers and accountants and plenty of people who make six-figure salaries. And the thing is they're just like us. They're people just like us. So when a soft revolution begins, the real haves, the small percent of people who actually have the money, they're not stupid, they're smart. And they also have a lot of smart advisors and people surrounding them who also want to help their little empire keep that wealth, because, well, I mean, you would too. Even if you're not the one with it, if you're the one who's benefiting from it, you're going to want to keep your friend or your employer insulated and protected. And so they're going to find a way to blame that on the class below them, and the class below them is going to be the quote-unquote kulak class, you know, just like there happened before, just like then. And if we start overthrowing and murdering and killing and genociding against the doctors and the smart people and the people who are making that amount of money, we're not doing ourselves any favors. We need to look at the people who have the wealth and the power, who don't work for it, who inherited it, generational type power, and that's going to be tough to do, because there are just so many, there's already so many, you know, woke people out there who, this is one of the things that you've got to be very careful of when you first start diving into conspiracy theories. When you go down that rabbit hole, it's a lot of fun, and then it gets serious, and then it gets scary, and then it gets real. For instance, I'm no longer getting on any of my social media. I'm going to see how long that lasts. Hopefully a while, but not that long ago when I was on the conspiracy subreddit, I saw like a picture of, like, they're just being blatant about it. And it's literally like a person wearing a Grand Mason ring on, you know, Home Shopping Network. And they're like showing some product to like be sold, and it's like, this person was like, they're just being so blatant and flashing it in our faces. And it's like, well, you're stupid, because you don't know the first thing about what the Masonic Lodge is or anything like that. And if you had any inkling of what it was, all you would know is it's a glorified fraternity, and that person is just a member. Those folks can hardly organize a potluck, let alone take over the world. Yeah, they might own a lot of real estate, but if they were really killing it, they'd have shit like churches, you know? They would have prime property. They wouldn't have this, these, you know, lodges that have that vinyl panel board on them and things like that. I mean, they're not in the best shape. They're not secretly running the world. Like, there's no way. There is no Illuminati. And so you kind of follow this trajectory when you get into this whole conspiracy thing, and you have to realize that it's not some group of people that has a brand. It's not Illuminati or Freemasons or the underground fraternity at Yale or whatever that a lot of Skull and Bones Society is. They don't have a name. There's wealthy billionaires like Bill Gates and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey and all the ones from China and all over the world, and Europe, and the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and the Soroses and the Koch brothers. And they're all individuals, and they all want different things, and they all have a vision for the world. Sometimes some of those fuckers are better at getting their desired vision than the other ones. Or they know how to do things and organize things and create false flags, or pay crisis actors, or pay people to organize a protest or something like that. And I went to, just briefly, I remember going in the heat of COVID, going to a protest organized on Facebook for the city that I live in, and going down and protesting the mask mandates, and, you know, basically the fact that everything was getting shut down, you know, and to reopen things. Like, that's kind of what the protest was for. And, you know, at one point being there, I was like, you know, who is this being funded by? Like, is this person who is organizing this, how is this person getting paid? Is this person getting paid? Or, you know, so you have to ask those questions. And so there is no specific group of overarching Illuminati type people. There's just wealthy people who, over the course of time, if you follow their actions, you'll get to know what their agenda is. And a lot of times, some of those wealthy people, once they have a certain position of wealth equals power. And so since they have that power to make things happen, it depends at that point on their motive. You know, if they want to take over the world, they're not going to tell you that. But if they want that power because they see a vision for the globe in a certain way, then that's what they're going to do. As misguided as it is. I mean, Hitler was misguided by Heinrich Himmler. You know, these people read these books and they get together and they talk and they have cocktails, because as you get wealthier, the more money you have, the smaller and smaller your social circle gets, because you're only going to be surrounded by other people who have similar bank accounts to yours. You personally probably watching this video, you're not going to go and hang out. You either don't have the means to go call up Jeff Bezos and say, hey man, let's go grab a drink. And Jeff Bezos certainly isn't going to be seen on the streets hanging out with some homeless person. And I'm not saying you're homeless. He's not going to be seen at a bar hanging out with me. That's for sure. Because if he was, he'd get bombarded, and like he gets insulated. But Jeff Bezos can see that he's getting a call from Bill Gates and say, hey Bill, what's going on, man? Or you know, Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg are like, hey man, like I see that you're out in Silicon Valley again. You know, let's catch up and tell each other about, you know, our recent trip to, you know, the fucking Himalayas, and, you know, let's decompress and talk about some shit. And then next thing you know, they're coming up with some idea for social media, and then next thing you know, they're both working towards it together. So that's what happens. And so that's why you have to be very careful with the conspiracy bullshit, is because there are agents of these people that are doing psyops, just like Anonymous and just like QAnon may have started out to be a certain way, or may have been true, but they got found out. Those people got outed, and then they got replaced. Anonymous is no longer who they are. QAnon, like that person got replaced. You can tell in the messages. So be very, very, very careful about what you fall in love with in the conspiracy subreddit. It's great when you first stumble upon, you know, chemtrails. And you're like, well, you know, contrails, chemtrails, and then you dive into it, and then you see all of these bullshit images, and it's true. A lot of this stuff can be faked. And you learn this because, well, how do I say this? If you don't spend all of your time in one hobby, like reading conspiracy subreddits, and then you know, maybe try your hand at penny stocks, well, given the fact that the internet being the internet, there's a lot of things that can be faked in order to sell a penny stock company. And so why people would do this to do the conspiracies, I don't know. I mean, Birds Aren't Real was hilarious, and it was started as a joke to show, you know, how viral something can go. So I guess there's just really hardcore trolls out there who want to get stuff out there, but that doesn't change the fact that, like, you know, at least if you get aware of chemtrails, even though we may not be, you know, being sprayed with nanobots that are going to activate when 5G becomes active. And I know I'm using an old one that never came true. I mean, my phone is 5G and nothing happened. I'm still who I am. I'm still sitting here being a quote unquote dissenter. But the reality is that, you know, then like NASA goes out and they're like, well, you know, we've been working on geoengineering. Like, yeah, no, like it's a thing. And it's like, okay, so how do they practice it? Well, it's on, you know, it's got to be on our own planet, but you got to think, like, what are they going to be doing it for? And it's like, well, it's for, most likely it's going to be for terraforming. I mean, we can't be a single interplanetary species forever. We're going to have to go to Mars eventually. And so they're doing this geoengineering stuff and this HAARP and DARPA. It has multiple purposes, and it can be used for bad. It can, and it probably has been. And we may not ever know. Hopefully it hasn't. You know, hopefully hopefully there's enough moral and ethical code somewhere in there in the government to hold them accountable. But some of the things about how, you know, when I told y'all in past videos about the elite defector and how the global turmoil of the weather shift is going to get more and more and more like a what is that, a Richter scale thing, I guess, you know, where you've got like, or like a lie detector where it's like, well, we've been seeing it get like this. And he said basically the same thing's going to happen with the stock market. It's going to get more and more volatile, and you're going to see these more and more volatile swings. And well, the volatile swings can actually be explained away by the economic system itself. The fact that, you know, the 1x7 leverage, basically when I am a bank and I loan you money, the government says, okay, well, now you have the authority to loan out 7 times that amount. Even if you don't have the money and the bank is the ability to pay, you can still have it on paper. But that's a different thing for a different day. Basically just, you know, go get a degree in finance real quick and you'll understand that, no problem. But the shit's gonna get like this and this and this and this, and it's gonna be really, really crazy towards the end until the reset. And that's what is kind of scaring me the most lately, is that they keep all of this talk going about the Great Reset, blah, 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 blah. And the fact that it's now, you know, that they have it like scheduled for 2030. It's one thing to sit there and hear it and be told like, okay, well, this is happening, whatever. There's another to be aware of the pattern leading up to it years before the pattern's developed, and now seeing the pattern developing. And that is where a lot of people who kind of woke up during COVID-19, they're falling back asleep. They're not seeing the 10-year pattern. They're not seeing the 15-year chunk or the 20-year chunk, and they're not willing to zoom out to the 100-year chunk, to the 200-year chunk, to centuries of what's going on. And there's going to be a big change very soon. And by very soon, I mean in the next 8 years. I mean, they're saying 2030 will be the Great Reset. And by they, I mean the World Economic Forum. And you can sit here and say, well, where's the proof? Where's the proof? Well, just go watch the videos on their website. It's all there. Now, the thing is like, will it happen? I don't know. You know, I don't know what's going to change from then to there. I don't know if tomorrow Vladimir Putin is going to do something crazy, or Volodymyr, whatever, Zelensky is going to take all of this new weaponry that Biden just authorized, and Biden, I say in quotes, you know, his handlers authorized him to sign over to help Ukraine. It's going to, you know, I don't know what that's going to do. You know, what I can tell you from a financial advisor standpoint is that's just going to help spur the war machine. The defense contractors are now profitable because now they have product that's been sold, contracts have been signed. So those will have a nice little in the market. And so there's going to be downstreams of that as far as production is concerned. Anyway, hit me up in the comments if y'all want to hear more about that, or if y'all really want me to get going on like a stock pick of the week or month or something like that. Like if we do like a stock picks of the month, I would love to. You know, I need to get my Patreon going. I don't spend a lot of time setting this channel up. So I really need somebody who is interested. I tried using Fiverr, and you might notice in some of my past videos some odd titles or odd descriptions. Well, it's tough finding good work by native English speakers. You know, you can get a lot more SEO for your buck if you outsource it to another country where the US dollar carries a lot more weight. Anyway, essentially, I'm scared because I was told what this would look like leading up to it, and I'm seeing it now, and I'm even more scared after reading Dalio's book about principles for the changing world order, because that alone kind of reinforced what this dissenter basically told everyone on Reddit years ago in like 2014 was going to happen, except now you're hearing it from another very wealthy, well, now you're just hearing it from like a wealthy person who is investing in you know, China and has a very successful hedge fund. So anywho, I want to hear y'all's thoughts about it, and tell me what you thought of this video. As always, please like and subscribe. I've been getting more of y'all in the last couple of weeks. I've gotten so many new subscribers, and it makes me feel so good. It encourages me, especially with the comments. I've gotten some actual good comments, and I would really, really like to keep doing this. So tell me what you thought, and until then, we'll see you next time. Bye, friends.